Blended Podcasts. Brought to you by Blended Audio.
ArtPod is a South African-focused visual arts podcast hosted by Claude. Join me weekly every Saturday as I'm joined by a new guest who occupies a position within the visual arts community, ranging from fine arts, tattooing, framing, and logistics. Welcome to another episode of ArtPod. I'm your host, Claude Chandler, and welcome to a shameless plug and advertisement episode where I talk about my mother and I are having an upcoming show at State of the Art Gallery, Cape Town, on Batencun Street on the 12th of February. Now, this is kind of our first mother and son show, well, definitely in the Western Cape, Cape Town, but more on a grand scale. We had a little pop-up in Pretoria last year at the Stuart Trent Gallery, which was a lot of fun, and there was a fair amount of success from it, more on my mother's side. And I think it's going to happen again. But basically, the show we have titled is Liminal Timeline. Now, basically what happened was, well, we came up with the title because we both are going through a lot of change, and there's a lot of shifting and uncertainty happening in our lives, mainly on the positive and exciting side. So ultimately, there's a lot of personal things we want to keep to ourselves, and that makes the title a lot more special. But ultimately, we use the title to kind of focus a body of work on. My mother, Pascal Chandler, Durban artist, who was a huge part of my artistic career, she, for the last number of years and throughout her career as a fine artist, has worked with the horse, or the equestrian animal. And I'm just going to quickly read her statement for the upcoming show. Liminal Timeline. We live in a liminal dystopian world of unpredictability and change, a global blurring of right and wrong, how we treat our animals and how we position ourselves in the world as carers and protectors. The survival of our species hinges on power and industrial capitalism, constantly in need of more and new. My work integrates the position of man-made structural cladding to legislate ownership and control. The iconography of the horse occupies a position of arbitration, a negotiator of suspended spaces. The Demir-inspired donkey navigates the fragility of our humanity and the transitory nature of life. So, a lot of my mother's work is works on paper, and the medium being alcohol and ink, namely Indian ink, and which I think is great because on the tag next to each artwork, under medium, it says alcohol and ink. And I've heard a number of artists say, well, I have a glass of wine when I make artwork, so I should also include that. And I remember the last time she visited me in Cape Town, she wanted to do some work, so we went to the pharmacy to get some basically pure spirits, and she normally uses a vessel to pour them, and so she normally uses shot glasses, and we were a bit hesitant to buy the shot glasses and the 100% alcohol at the pharmacy, so we did two different runs for that. But she makes use also of stencils and stamps, which is something I also have been using, and it's a great link between the two. And I traditionally have always worked on canvas, or at least 95% of my work is produced on canvas, if not 99%. And for this body of work, I've decided to work on paper, which is very new and exciting. For presenting and packaging them, I will be framing 6 of the works, and boy oh boy, from someone who never frames his works, it's quite an expenditure, but I think ultimately necessary. Liminal Timeline. A liminal timeline is the time between the what was and the next. It is a place of transition, waiting, and not knowing. I was born into the remnants of an analog world. I found myself being part of the rapid change, a change to code and digitalization. My work has always navigated this transformation and how we see the world, and especially ourselves, etched in a web of code. I'm developing a new body of work titled MagTape. Magnetic tape was for the longest time one of the most important vessels of information. Magnetic tape revolutionized sound, film, and commerce in terms of recording, reproduction, and broadcasting. MagTape is something tangible and real. One can touch it, unlike its digital counterpart. It has a physical presence, but it's fragile, sensitive to light, heat, and corrosion. It is stored in a plastic case or vessel, a plastic tomb, and one dares not remove it. I have for most of my career worked on canvas. Canvas is a robust material, also a vessel of information, which was originally invented and used to wrap the dead. This hardy material has taken the thumps of my wooden stamps without fail. Like digital information, multitudes of arrays and reformatting never affects the vessel upon which the final image is broadcast. Magnetic tape has the opposite effect. The quality starts deteriorating after multiple layers of re-recordings happening. To emulate this, I have started working on paper. I find myself having to reevaluate my process, reminding myself of the fragility of the paper, knowing that I'm only afforded a few mistakes before the over-recording destroys the quality of the transmission. I often leave visible the initial sketch as if it were a fragile skeleton. The paper finds solitude encased behind glass, protected from the elements. Basically, those are our 2 interpretations of Liminal Timeline, which we are very excited to present to the public. Our timing couldn't be more exciting, and I think Jennifer, the owner and gallerist of State of the Art Gallery, gave us this amazing time slot. It kind of feeds in with the Cape Town Art Fair. It also feeds in with the International Public Arts Festival and a whole bunch of other things. So it's kind of everything's buzzing. There's a huge art energy within the month of Feb. So the 12th is just before the launch of the art fair. So hopefully everyone's kind of all ready and everyone's mouth is watering. We'll give you that satisfying taste before the big Cape Town art fair. I'm also very excited to say that I'll be participating in the International Public Arts Festival. I think this is its 3rd or 4th year running. It will be running from the 8th to the 16th of Feb, and I think it will be more accessible to the public. Well, there will be more available between the 12th and the 16th of Feb. I'll be painting on the corner of Pope and I think it's Camden Street. But if you just find Pope, you go down the stretch, you'll see me with either stamps and stencils, painting a gigantic portrait. I've been kind of leaning, actually no, I'm going to keep that a secret. You just have to come and see who I paint. But I think it will be no surprise to those who see it. I'll be painting in a spot that I originally painted, and unfortunately it got painted over, to my understanding, which was a mistake. The owners of the building were renting it out to an advertising company, and they just wanted the walls around the structure repainted and patched, and I think they were told not to go over the mural, and that's what, but that's the past, I guess, and it got erased. But as I was saying to Peter here, it lives on in Pokemon Go as a Pokestop. So I think it couldn't be any more appropriate considering how my work revolves around kind of digital archives and being transformed into something digital. So yes, as it is, it lives on in Pokemon Go. So if you're ever on Pope Street and you need to get some Pokeballs, go to my stop and spin it. Of course, in Feb, I'm very excited to have a lot of guests from Joburg and Durban visiting for the art fair, who most likely are going to be participating. So it's going to be quite fun and interesting to have a more national guest list coming up. And again, yes, please follow my mother on Instagram and Facebook. She's whipping my ass in terms of followers, and yeah, it's kind of annoying. I remember trying to get her onto Instagram, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, with her reluctance. And once I showed her the ropes, within 3-4 months she just overtook me. I think I had about an 800 follower lead on her and now she's in the 3,000s and I'm still stuck in the thousands. But she's definitely a huge ambassador within the Durban art community, and she really understands social media and how to navigate it, especially as a fine artist. I think if she ever had to reboot her career, she should just go become a social media agent, curator, navigator, I don't know. But she certainly seems to know how to operate it, which ultimately has, I think, given her a renewed sense in her art career. And just having a direct audience and that back and forth can be so helpful and just ultimately more fun. And I think she's really enjoying that. I'm trying to play catch up, so please smash that follow or subscribe button. It would really help. But I digress. Our show will be up for, I think, 2 to 3 weeks at Day of the Art. Again, the opening's on a Wednesday, the 12th of Feb. We'll be serving drinks. We'll probably most likely have an opening speech, very short and sweet. We haven't decided on a speaker yet or a guest speaker. We might open it ourselves. We will wait and see for that. Yes, and then also please keep an eye out on State of the Art. They're having their annual State of the Art competition coming up fairly soon. So just be sure to follow them, find out submissions, and I do encourage you to take part. And yeah, I'm going to cut this one short and sweet. Again, this was just a shameless promotion, punting. If you got it, use it. And I'll see you there. Cheers, bye. ArtPod is a South African-focused visual arts podcast hosted by Claude Chandler and produced by the generous assistance of Blended Podcasts, brought to you by Blended Audio.